Hey guys, Stay Patient here and welcome to this week's PS4 Trophy Hunters update video. This is of course the show where we take a look at all the recent releases on PS4 especially, but occasionally we take a look at some of the PS3 and Vita stuff. And we're looking at the trophies, we're trying to find easy platinums, we're figuring out what we can about the AAA games. And it's quite nice to see this series has started to gain some traction. Obviously, some of you may have subscribed to the channel off the back of my top 10 videos where we look at the easiest platinums, and there's going to be some other top 10s, looking at different categories within the trophy sort of genre or whatever you want to call it. But I think because more people have been subbing off those videos and some of my guides and things like that, it's helped this weekly video become, I guess, noticed by more people. It's been brought to the attention of more people because they're subbed to the channel. And it was actually a couple of weeks ago, I noticed that the video from 2 weeks ago today was up around 400 odd, views. And that was the highest we'd had at the time. And I thought to myself, with more people subscribing, it wouldn't be unrealistic to try and reach a regular 500 views a week by the end of the year. And that was kind of a sort of unofficial goal I set for myself. Now, last week's video, for some reason, partly because the subscriber count has been going up, but I think partly because we were talking about My Name is Mayo as well. And I think in the title I put something like the easiest platinum ever, which it has turned out to be. But that video is up around 900 views. So my goal of reaching 500 by the end of the year has been smashed already. So that's really cool. I wanted to say thank you to all you guys who have been supporting this show on a weekly basis, and obviously to anyone who's kind of spread the word. And I know some people mentioned that friends of theirs have been subscribing to the channel. So thank you to anything you've been doing. Posting on. I know some of you are posting on Twitter and sort of retweeting my videos, all that kind of thing. Thanks very much. But we're going to dive in to this week's show because there is actually some really exciting news this week, something that a lot of you are going to be really, really happy about. We'll get to that though. Sorry to kind of tease it and not tell you what it is straight away. But if we start at the bottom here, obviously we're on PSN profiles as always. And there's nothing really to go on Black and White Bushido yet. That was a trophy set last week that I mentioned looked like it might be easy because it looks like you can sort of boost most of the trophies just split screen on the same console. You don't even need to go online. Although there were some trophies that involved like playing challenges against the AI, or kind of just challenges within the game, single player or whatever. So we'll have to wait and see what that's like. I would sort of try it out myself, but I've got so many games to play, so much work to do, so many videos to make. It's difficult to keep up with everything. Dishonored 2 is quite interesting. There's a lot of people playing that, obviously. I haven't been playing it myself, but it does look awesome. It's not because I don't like the game. I love the original. I just haven't really got time to play it at the moment. But it's quite interesting. It's got a very low completion average. I know it's not been out for very long, but the first game could be platted really quickly. So I think if people had knowledge of the first game, they'd then be able to take that knowledge across to Dishonored 2. And if it was possible to do it that quickly, then I'm sure there would have been more than 2 people that have platted it by now. So you've got 2 platinums, and it's been out for, I mean, it's only 2 days to be fair, but it's not so much the number of people that have platted it, it's the average completion percentage. And that's probably partly due to the fact that there's a lot of people who've bought it that haven't really had time to play it properly yet. But yeah, I'm kind of taking from that it might well be either harder or longer than the first game, which is good news, obviously. More content. Let's have a look. There's actually a stacking trophy list for Volgar the Viking. I think the Vita version has a separate trophy list. So if you've got the skill to be able to do that, it's quite a hard game apparently. Same goes for Robinson actually. When we get further up, you'll notice a second version of the Robinson Platinum, or Robinson trophy set. You know what I might do actually, is I've kind of just given away the good news there. You might have noticed if you were looking carefully, a bit of a teaser. Wasn't deliberate, but let's leave it in, just see if you guys picked up on it. Okay, so the stacking list for Robinson the Journey hasn't been added to PlayStation Trophies yet, so that's quite interesting. But there are 2 versions of it. Pardon me. My name is Mayo. Obviously, I spoke about that last week. It was number 1 on my latest top 10 easiest and fastest platinums list. Absolutely ridiculously easy. If you haven't seen that video yet, check it out. It's just ridiculous. It's like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and there's just so you don't need a guide. You just press X like 10,000 times. It's just ridiculous. And we're waiting for an European release, because obviously it's out in America, and a lot of you were disappointed to see that it was so easy, but it's only available in America. But usually those games do end up coming out in Europe as well. It might take a bit of time, but it will arrive eventually. It might take a few weeks or whatever, but I'm sure it'll come out. It's available on Vita and PS4. Obviously, you can sign up for an American account, download the game on PS4, and you could technically download the game on Vita to your American account, but you couldn't then play the Vita version on your main account, which is a bit annoying. But I've already bought the game because it's 99 cents. It's so cheap. So if you can find like an American address, you need a residential address, you just set up an account, put in America as a country, and put in an address that works, that is a legitimate address. And you can find one, just go on like Google and maybe search for like a famous person's house or something. Quite often they've got the addresses for them up. I think my American account is, I think it was opened using like Tom Cruise's address or something, or like Hugh Jackman or something like that. So they've got a PS4 account with with some purchases on it. But yeah, if you do that, then you can go to, what's the site? It's not CD Keys. It's PC Supplies, PC Game Supplies or something like that. If you search for that site, I think it's, let's just find it actually, because I know some of you will want to know this. PC, I think this is the one. Oh, I tell you what, as soon as I start recording, every single time it just slows down the internet, and I really don't know why, because I've got a ridiculously fast PC. I'm pretty sure that's it, guys. Is there any others that show up with a similar? Yeah, just go to that site. As you can see there, US region, buy places and network cards. You can buy PSN cards from like America, Canada. I can't remember if they do like Japanese ones. No, they do. They do Japanese PSN top-up cards. If you're buying ones from the UK, the best place to go for that would be cdkeys.com. But I'm going to do a video on that. We'll look into that, because I'm planning a series of like how to be a trophy hunter, like tips and tricks videos and stuff like that. And I'm going to be starting that soon, hopefully, if I can find the time. And one of the episodes will be all about how to buy foreign games, how to set up a foreign account. We'll find an address that you can all use, all that kind of stuff. But let's go back, because that's all last week's stuff. We want to start focusing on the new stuff, don't we? New games. So there's the stacking list for Robinson. We got up to Mechazoo last week. That was a bit of an odd like 2D game where you play as different creatures and stuff. Robinson, we looked at that. That looks awesome. I've seen some more gameplay since last week, and it looks really cool. The graphics look amazing, especially if you've got a PS4 Pro. I haven't actually tried my VR with my PS4 Pro yet, but it's supposed to increase the graphical fidelity, because that's the one thing, like whenever you watch gameplay on YouTube of VR games, it looks amazing. But then you put the VR headset on, and it still looks good for a VR headset, but it's nowhere near as crisp and clear and everything, or as sharp as it looks when you watch a recording, because the recording is taken directly from the PS4, but then the image is sent to the VR. Stomach's rumbling. The image is sent to the VR headset separately, and obviously the screen on the VR headset is, I think it's lower than 1080p, or is 1080p, but because you're so close to it, it just looks a bit blurred and stuff. It's fine. But if you're used to like a really high quality TV, then you put the VR headset on, and to begin with, it's kind of like, oh, it looks awful. But you just got to realize that it's new tech. But I am looking forward to seeing how it works with PS4 Pro with that increased sort of quality to the graphics. Psychopass Mandatory Happiness is available. This is the European store, or the English, British store. It's available for $35.99 on PS4. It's still a lot of money, but it is on sale, so I thought I'd point it out. And $19.99 down from $35 on the Vita. And the reason I point these out is because although I think these are stacking lists, I'd not heard of the game before. If you go to PlayStationTrophies.org though, you'll notice that there's quite a few stacking lists for it. And obviously the one that's just released is the one that, it's got a separate, you'll see it's got separate Vita and PS4 trophies. So that's the most recent one. And that's obviously, I think it's this one, because whenever they're not sure what region it is, they put another stack in brackets. And here you've got Japanese, so it could be a Chinese list, it could be an Asian list, like from Hong Kong or Korean. But this is the North American and European one. They share a trophy list, and the PS4 and Vita versions share a trophy list. So it's like if you're, let's say you buy the game on Vita, it's 20 quid. The PS4 one's £36, so it's a lot cheaper on Vita. But as soon as you do the trophies on Vita, because it's a shared list between the Vita and PS4, then those trophies count as PS4 trophies. They don't count twice, obviously. But if you went onto a site like exophase.com, which kind of splits your trophy collections into PS4, Vita, and PS3, and you can view them like that. And also on the rankings, there's like, there's a leaderboard of, the most or the highest level PS4 trophies. So in other words, they calculate, how many PSN points you have just from PS4 games, and then there's a leaderboard based on that. So even if you played Psychopass Mandatory Happiness on the Vita, if you went on to the Exophase PS4 leaderboard, it would count that game amongst the PS4 ones. Because it's available on both, and they don't know which side you played it on. So it was still it would still help you climb the leaderboard, the PS4 only leaderboard, if you get me. In fact, talking about it, it's quite difficult to explain what I mean. So if we bring up Exophase, you'll be able to see, because we always use psnprofiles.com, this is a very similar site that tracks trophies. But what you can do is go to leaderboard and then PSN. And then you'll see here, global is just like all of your trophies. Then you've got PS4, PS Vita, and PS3. So you could put in, like, I'm not particularly high ranked because it's quite a new account. It's only like nearly 4 years old, the account. But you can search for yourself and it will tell you I'm 1228th globally. But then if you go to PS4, it'll have a leaderboard based on just people's PS4 trophies. So, sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but you'll see here, like, for instance, the highest ranked PS4 player in the world. Where's Olympiakos? Oh, wow, he's dropped right down. He was number 1 for a long time. So German Pro, he's been climbing a lot recently. He's got 261 platinums. Now, if you clicked on his account, you'd see that he actually has 732 platinums, but this is just his PS4 stuff. So he's got 418,980 PSN points, and that's what puts him at the top. So there could technically be someone, let's find an example actually, like here. So you've got someone with 158 platinums, and then below them you've got someone with 183. But obviously this person above them will have earned maybe more gold, silvers, or whatever, maybe more trophies overall. Like here, he's got 8,600 compared to 8,000. So he's got more PSN points in total, whereas this person's probably got a higher completion rate. Anyway, the reason we speak about that is because, like I say, if you were to play Psychopass Mandatory Happiness, the EU or North American version, which shares a trophy list, you could buy it for much cheaper on Vita, play it, and then the trophies from that would be included in your PS4 total because it's a shared list. So it would technically rank you up or push you up the leaderboard for Vita and PS4, which is a bit strange. And if you have a look here, the reason that's good news is because it is an easy trophy set. It's not really fast, But it's 2 out of 10 with a guide, 15 hours. We can have a look at the voting here. Yeah, around 15 to 20 hours. So it's quite a long one. You may not be worried about doing it, but if you fancy something different to play, trying out a different style of game, I'm not really all that sure. It's obviously a Japanese, it's been ported over from Japan, so it's probably like an interactive novel, which is why it's so easy. But some of them are really fun. You know, they've got great stories, and a lot of them haven't been translated into English. And a lot of them from Japan are like half an hour long. You can do the plot in like 20-30 minutes, but they've not been translated. Whereas some of them, they have been translated to English, and that's usually a sign that it's a good game because they feel like it's worth releasing in the West. So I reckon it's probably worth checking out, a bit like Root Letter. Root Letter showed up in the top 10 this last, episode 3 of the top 10. And that's been translated to English, and it's been released in England and America separately. So obviously that's a game worth playing. It's got a lot of good reviews and things like that. So if we move on here, we've got Killing Floor 2, which is quite a well-known game. I don't think it's like a full-price AAA game, but it's close. It kind of reminds me, if you watch it, it reminds me of Call of Duty Zombies. It's that kind of thing, waves of zombies, but it's a bit more bloody and violent and stuff. The trophies, I think it's like a multiplayer sort of fighting against waves pretty much. I think there might be a competitive side to it as well, like a different mode. But you've got lots of trophies here for collecting all the items on different levels. Loads of trophies all the way down to here. So they don't sound too bad, unless it means that you need to kind of reach a really high wave to be able to access a new area and get the collectibles there. But I can't see that being too difficult. And then we've got a few miscellaneous ones that I had a quick look through, and they don't look too bad. Kill your first flesh pound, Scrake, money-based ones, weld a door to 100%. I mean, these could be anything really. 70% though, it's obviously quite easy. Heal a teammate. Lots of just miscellaneous ones. It could be hard, but they could well be straightforward. I think usually if it's like a miscellaneous trophy that can be done anywhere, then they often just pop naturally, through natural play. And then the rest here, you've got like leveling up a perk to level 25. So I'm guessing that just means using it a lot. And then, I mean, most of that looks, to me, it looks pretty straightforward, but not having played the game, I couldn't say for sure. These down here are like the difficulty related ones. Win 25 survival matches, and then you've got win any match on these different difficulties. So I'm guessing when it says match, I was thinking of it as a competitive match, but obviously that's probably just referring to the co-op where you're fighting against waves, because as it says, you've got different difficulties. So if you're playing competitively, there's no difficulty involved, is there? I mean, no difficulty setting. Obviously, the difficulty of each match just depends on how good the people you're playing against are. So that's Killing Floor. We've actually got a trailer for Icy. Hey guys, I'm just going to interrupt myself here. I know this is a bit weird and unorthodox, but I wanted to let you know something that happened during editing of this video rather than just putting it in text on screen. I have to apologize, but my Elgato device has really been playing up recently, as you guys will know from previous videos. Quite often my webcam footage gets corrupted, which has happened again, even though I downloaded a patch for it, which was supposed to fix it. And it seems that patch has introduced a new problem as well. So after this trailer that we're about to watch, you will lose webcam with me. I apologize for that. But then later on as well, the actual footage of the video was corrupted. So from about 2/3 of the way through the video, I've reverted to using screenshots. It's very primitive, but hopefully the information gets across to you guys as well as it would have done otherwise. So I just want to really apologize for that. Hope you still enjoy the rest of the video, and thanks for sticking with it. So this is actually a Chinese indie game, which you don't hear, very often. You don't hear of sort of indie games from the East, from China and Japan and places like that. Especially China. There's not a huge, I don't think there's, oh, nearly dropped my keyboard. I don't think there's a huge kind of gaming culture over there. I may be totally wrong, and I probably am, to be honest. I know in Japan it's big, but you don't hear a lot of games being released from China. So an indie Chinese game is quite it's quite different, at least, by my reckoning it is. I may be completely out, but it does look kind of cool. It's I think it's quite obviously an Eastern game. It's got that kind of Japanese, Chinese feel to it. It actually seems more Japanese than Chinese. A lot of kind of futuristic mechs and almost like anime style. But it does look nice and flowing and cool. It looks like it might be, fun to play. So could be something worth checking out. I don't really know what to say about it trophy-wise because it's very difficult. It's not one of those games that you can look at and really gauge what the trophies are going to be like without having played it. But it could be something to keep an eye on. And I like kind of giving shout outs to the smaller developers that may not, get much marketing or get much word of mouth. So I see, yeah, check it out. Why not help support the little guy? Now we've got the Assassin's Creed trilogy. So of course this is the Ezio collection, all the games that that featured Ezio as the main character. So it started off with Assassin's Creed 2, which was a great game at the time. The first game was interesting and it was kind of good, but it had a lot of problems. It needed to fix lots of issues. Not glitches and things, but just design choices that they made kind of stopped it being a great game. But they fixed everything for Assassin's Creed 2 and it was perfect. Obviously by today's standards, games have come a long way since then. It's, what is it, like 8 years old or something? But it was a really great game and it would still be a really great game now, or it will still be. Obviously it's been updated with better graphics and everything, so I'm actually really excited to replay Assassin's Creed 2. I was thinking about replaying the PS3 version, but now I don't need to. I've never actually earned the trophies on my current account. I did them on my old account, which was back when the PS3 launched. But I've had a good look through these, a proper thorough look through for you guys, really, to save you doing it, because it's going to be interesting to know, whether they are the same trophies as they were before. And they basically are. What they've done is they've removed the online, which you will all be glad to hear. The online multiplayer has been removed from Brotherhood and Revelations, or at least, as far as I know, it has. The trophies have been. Maybe the online mode's still there, but there's no trophies related to it, but I doubt it, because I don't think anyone will play them online these days. But Assassin's Creed 2 is exactly the same trophy list as the original. Brotherhood, what they've done is they've taken out the online trophies and they replaced them with the DLC trophies. So they're still exactly the same, but now you have to earn the trophies from the DLC, which is obviously bundled with the collection. You have to earn them to finish off your platinum. And then on Revelations, the same thing basically. You had some multiplayer trophies, they've taken them out, they've replaced them with the, I think there was only one, maybe two sort of single player DLCs. There were some multiplayer DLCs, so they've been scrapped as well, but the single player DLC has taken the place of the multiplayer trophies from the main game, and so it's all the trophies are exactly the same as what was there originally. They've just scrapped all the multiplayer stuff and you need the DLC to be able to earn the platinum. So nothing really changed there, and with that in mind, we're going to take a quick look at let's see, Assassin's Creed 2. Obviously, they've all got trophy sets, trophy guides, sorry. So this one was, I think it was like a 3 or 4 out of 10. Yeah, 4 out of 10 difficulty, 25 to 35 hours. That was a fun game. It was an easy plat. I think it's easier than 4 out of 10, but back then trophies had only just started, so they were generally sort of generally graded or estimated to be a bit higher in difficulty because they didn't really have a lot to compare it to. Although trophies in general were more difficult back then, so maybe that evened it out. But it's, I think a lot of that difficulty is based on the collectible trophy. There's one collectible for finding all of the feathers in the game, and there's like hundreds of them, and it's a nightmare. There are maps and stuff. If you use the guide, there's maps that show you where they all are, and they're very useful. But a lot of it's just kind of being willing to stick with it, the difficulty, because that can add to the difficulty, can't it? If you're playing a game that is just tedious and you have to go through like either farming something or collecting loads and loads of a collectible, then you could argue that it's harder because you need to have that stick-to-itiveness, that word, or that dedication to stick with it. And it's probably, by today's standards, it's probably not as bad as we remember it being, to be honest. But we've got Revelations. Whew. Is the second Revelation? Oh yeah, that's odd. They're separate. Assassin's Creed. Oh, it's because they've not put the colon here. Okay, so Brotherhood was the next one, actually, wasn't it? Let's have a look at the Brotherhood one. Now, this trophy guide, the kind of the estimated difficulty in time is obviously going to include the multiplayer. And I'm super glad they've removed the multiplayer because it was an absolute nightmare. It was so annoying. You had to level up loads and loads, so you ended up boosting it, and you ended up boosting a trophy that required you to sort of achieve every single bonus in the multiplayer. And so that's why it's given a 7 out of 10. I don't think, if it's just single player, I don't think it's anywhere near that. It's probably a 4 or 5 again. 25 to 35 hours once again. And it's probably a similar amount of time, although actually saying that, if you take off the multiplayer, that's going to probably be 10 hours or more, but then obviously you've got to add on the DLC. So it's probably a little less than it says it is here, the latest version with the slight adjustment in the trophies. This one 4 out of 10 again, 25 hours for single player, 5 hours for multiplayer, or maybe a bit higher. So yeah, that's Revelations, probably 30 hours if you include the DLC. So I don't think we need to say a lot about those three really. It's going to be a bargain when it comes to trophies. You're going to get 3 platinums for maybe £30, I'd guess it's selling for. Or at least, you'll be able to get it for around 30, I would guess. And it's probably going to drop down in price pretty soon. We've also got Watch Dogs 2 from Ubisoft. And I had a quick look through this earlier, and for the most part, there's a lot of sort of miscellaneous little bits and pieces that you have to do. There doesn't seem to be like a 100% completion trophy, which is cool. There doesn't seem to be a difficulty related trophy, which makes sense because most of the time open world games don't have difficulties or difficulty settings. I don't think the first Watch Dogs did. Lots of just things that you could just do. You just kind of play the game, and then when you think, oh, I'll earn some trophies, just look at the trophy list and go and pet some dogs, or hijack a boat or a bus, or like drive a unique vehicle. Lots of just little fiddly bits and pieces that are easy to get, that might not come naturally, but they're easy to go back to and earn at any point. There are annoyingly still some online trophies though, like the invasion stuff, successfully invade another hacker. I don't think there's any. I think they've dumbed it down a bit because I didn't see any to do with being hacked yourself, I don't think. There's a lot here, you'll notice, finish operation, all these operations. I don't know if they're story related or if they are like a separate mode, maybe operations or like a multiplayer mode you can do in a group or something. I'm not entirely sure. That's, I'm guessing, finish the game. Unless, that could be 100%. They could have just named it differently. Maybe you can only trigger the hack of the century when you've reached 100%, because it is a gold trophy. Either that, or I think the way they're listed here, all these operations, I'm guessing, are probably story missions, and then the final story mission is like, yeah, there you go, you've kind of you've completed the game. Maybe this is the final story mission, so that's why you only get bronze for it, because they know that you're also going to get gold. But that's just me kind of, I don't know, just making guesses off the top of my head. But yeah, like I say, there are some online stuff, but I think they've dumbed it down, which they really needed to do, because with games like Watch Dogs, it's fine when the game first comes out and there's lots of people playing it, but the first game you had to be hijacked or hacked or whatever, or invaded, where people come into your game whilst you're playing single player, and then you'd have to find them and kill them or stop them or whatever. And you had to do that, I think, a certain number of times. But the thing is, with games like Watch Dogs, a lot of people will turn off the hacking, or not the hacking, sorry, I keep calling it that. They'll turn off the invasions because they don't want their single player experience being interrupted by just random people coming in and shooting them. So, although it was fun and it's a nice feature, it's something that I think they should have in the game as an option, but not have trophies related to it. Because if people do turn off the option, then they'll finish the game and then they'll realize they've got these online trophies to do, and that means that like there's no mode you can go to go and earn them. They have to literally just carry on playing the game in single player with the online options enabled, and then just hope that someone's going to invade them. And once a couple of years go by, or even a year, less people are playing the game, even less people are still actively sort of invading people. So it can be a real pain, you know, unless you are really on the ball and you think, right, I need to get these out of the way early, which I think is what I did. I left all the online features turned on so that I could get those trophies, and as soon as I earned them, I turned them off because I didn't really want people hacking me or invading me or whatever. But it looks like they've maybe dumbed it down a bit here with the online stuff. There's some co-op trophies for doing co-op missions, but that's fine because you actively choose to do that. But with the invasions, you had no control over it. So if we keep going down here, we've got Silence and Deponia. Now, Ghosty, who's one of our regular viewers, he kindly pointed out, I'll give a shout out to him, because he pointed out last week when we were having a look through, I think it was, releases.com, where we were looking down through the upcoming releases. There was 2 games, these 2 here, Silence and Deponia, hadn't been added to PSN profiles yet, so I didn't discuss them, but he did point out that they're both PC like point and click adventures, and they're actually both by Daedalus Entertainment, and I'm guessing they're being ported over after having been out on PC for however long. But when I was watching the trailers for them, it was like referring to other games that the company had made, and I didn't recognise any of them, so I'm guessing they've been PC only up until this point. They might have released some on PlayStation, but none of them really rung any bells with me. And they're both point and click adventures, as Ghosty pointed out last week. And if we actually, I think we've got a trailer for Deponia. Now I did have trailers for both these games, and one of them had a watermark on it, so I was a bit concerned about copywriting. And to be honest, like this is Deponia. The other one, Silence, does look cool as well. This one looks like a comedy game. It looks quite funny, and the art style was awesome. I really love it. You can see it's kind of quite cartoony. It's almost like a modern day Monkey Island, whereas Silence is a lot darker. Like the first trailer I saw was of I think it was like an air raid siren or something, and you and what I assume is your sister had to rush to a underground bunker. And then you lock yourself inside, and people were banging trying to get in, but you couldn't let them in because the bomb was about to go off, and then it went off and killed everyone. And it's a lot darker and quite a sad-looking game. But this is like the polar opposite. This looks really cool. They both look cool, in their own ways, but they're very different tones. But obviously, we all know by now that point-and-click adventures are very easy trophy sets if you have a guide. So it might not be that these are super easy when they first release, because there's usually missable trophies that require you to do very specific things. But once a bit of time passes, or maybe there's guides for them online for the Steam version, possibly. But either way, I think eventually, as a bit of time passes, there will be guides up pretty quickly, because people try and figure these games out nice and quickly, and they get a trophy guide up on PlayStationTrophies.org or whatever. So that's going to be pretty cool, I think. Within the next few weeks, we should have 2 more nice, easy platinums to add to the collection. So just, keep your eye on them. I'm not sure how much they are, actually. I don't know if they're out yet. Let's have a look. I think I did check this, but I tend to forget sometimes. Okay, games. All right, doesn't seem. Silence doesn't seem to be out. What was the other one? Deponia. I'm guessing they're probably coming out on the same day. They're from the same developer. Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll keep an eye on them. I'll kind of keep you updated, and they'll probably show up on the next like easiest and fastest list or whatever. There's our stacking list for Volgar the Viking. Then we've got Steep. We're going to check out another trailer here, actually. Because Steep, as you can see, it's winning awards, so it's obviously a decent game. And it's another snow sport game. Skiing, snowboarding, and you saw their like wingsuits and stuff, so an extreme sports game. And as you'll know from a couple of weeks ago, if you watched the episode then, I used to do a lot of snowboarding. So Infinite Air came out and it didn't look that great, and now it's been reviewed. Its average review score on GameRankings.com is around 45%, which is very low, and that doesn't surprise me, to be honest. But the fact that there's another like proper AAA snow sport game or winter sport game coming out is pretty cool, because like I say, I'm into all this. I used to be when my health didn't, my health wasn't an issue. And there hasn't been a decent game along these lines for a while. SSX is really cool, and I love the series. It's a bit less realistic, obviously, but it's still awesome fun. But this looks really nice. It's from Ubisoft, so you know it's going to be at least like a full-scale game. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be any good, because Ubisoft are very kind of up and down with the quality of their games. But it does look cool. Obviously, they're focusing on the multiplayer, as they have been a lot recently. And I don't know, I've got high hopes for Steep, and it's a game that's kind of crept up on us. And I've been invited to the alpha and then the beta and everything. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it's one of those games that kind of pops up out of the blue, and I think it's something that I may pick up. So trophy-wise, I don't really have any news for you. Obviously, the trophy list is on here. There's not a lot you can really tell. It's just referring to tricks and events and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully, it's a doable trophy set. And knowing Ubisoft, it's probably not too difficult. They don't tend to put out trophy sets that are really, really hard. It might take a bit of time with all the online and stuff, but we'll see. Fingers crossed for that. I really hope that's good, because it's nice to see like a genre that was like more regularly represented years ago than it is now. You had the SSX games were quite regular. You had was it 1080 on the N64, something like that, and then you had Cool Borders on the original PlayStation. Quite a few series that went on for at least a couple of games or so. So it's nice to see it return. Now, here is the big news, guys. What you've all been waiting for, probably. And you've probably noticed it as well as I've been scrolling up and down. But Nubla, you'll have noticed as well, I opened this page earlier. The top 10 videos that I do. Sorry, I was trying to get my thoughts together then. The first episode of the easiest and fastest PS4 Platinums that you've never heard of or that you've never played, that's got 3 episodes now. So part 3 was put up a couple of days ago. You can check that out if you haven't already. But those videos are doing very well on the site or on the channel. And the first video had Nubla in the top spot. It was number 1, and at the time it was the easiest and fastest platinum available on PS4. Obviously, we've had things like My Name is Mayo and Jazzpunk come out, but this is just as fast as those. That's how quick it is, and it's super, super easy. It can be done in around half an hour or like up to an hour. But the problem everyone had was that it was only available in Europe, and it wasn't even available in all the countries in Europe. So the UK had it, which was great for us here in England, but it wasn't available in the US, and I think Germany didn't have it released, and a few other countries. But now, as you can see, it's been released in America. So not only are you guys in America going to be able to play it if you haven't got a European account, but to those of you who do have one of each, you will be able to play both versions and get two platinums, because it is one of the games that has a stacking trophy list. So you'll see here Nubla. If we search for Nubla, we'll see the original one. This is the European one. And as you can see there, that's how easy it is, guys. 97% or 98% average completion. The platinum has been earned. Look at this though. It's not even like there's only a few people who've played it. Sometimes you get obscure games that only like a few dozen or maybe a few hundred people have played it, because it's only trophy hunters playing it, and there's only a few people who know about it because it's got easy trophies, and they go in, they earn all the trophies and done. But usually if a game's got a few thousand owners, then the percentage, even if it's super easy, the percentage is lower, because people buy it and start playing it, but then just don't have time to finish it, or they get bored, or like they forget that they've started it, or maybe people have recently bought it and started playing it but not finished it yet. So it's very rare for a game with 2,000 odd owners on PSN profiles. Obviously more people own it, but these are the people that are tracked on this website. It's very rare for a game with that many owners to have like above 70% even, really, but to be 96%, 96.44% of people out of the 2,245 game owners have earned this platinum. That is how quick and easy it is. Obviously it's easy, but the fact that so many people have finished it means that it's so short that almost everyone just gets it done in their first play session. No one plays it and then forgets about it or hasn't had a chance to go back to it. It's just done. You play it, do it, done. It's like half an hour and it's over. So that's really good news because it means we can stack up the trophies. I'm going to buy the US version, get the trophies for that. Those of you in the US who don't have an EU account or British account or whatever, you can now finally play the game and get the platinum. And that means that thankfully, where are we? Yeah, that means that thankfully, the first episode of the top 10 that I put up is going to be beneficial for everyone, because up until now everyone's like, it's got nothing but likes, everyone's enjoying the video, but the one negative thing people have said is that the number one game I can't even play because it's not available in my country. So that's really, really cool. I'm happy about that. Demetrios is a Vita game. I'm not going to show you a trailer now, but check it out. It's just got a nice art style. It looks cool. It's like another point and click adventure, so it's probably another easy platinum. And it just looks nice. It just looks like a nice, cool, like cartoony style, almost Disney-esque game. Right, so I have 15 minutes before I have to go and start doing some cooking, during which time this video will be being processed and everything, then I can start editing it. But in that 15 minutes, we are going to take a quick look at my account. This is in no way to show off anything. The reason I'm looking at this is because there's a couple games I've played on my account that are quite new, quite recent, but aren't on the most recent games, on the games list. They've kind of dropped off the list because they're a few weeks old or whatever. And they're games that I did want to talk about because they're super easy. We talked about Dead Synchronicity last week. As you can see, I've not really been playing a lot. I've actually been eating away at Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2 DLC, which is quite difficult. You need to farm loads of stuff and that. So that's like when I get a few minutes spare, I just chuck that on. But I've been doing a lot of work, obviously making the videos and also my trophy service work. But these two games here, the Playroom VR has very little feedback. There's no guide. There's no voting threads on PlayStationTrophies.org. No one's talking about how long it is or how easy it is. There's nothing to go on. But a friend of mine platted it. Shout out to Monster Dad Help. He might be watching today. Hey, buddy. And he pointed out that it's a nice, easy platinum. He said it can be done under 10 hours, but I would say it's much quicker than that even. You do need 2 people for it. And obviously it's a VR game. So this is only going to be beneficial for the few of you out there who have got the VR headset. But if you're looking for a platinum to earn using VR, this is the one. It takes, well, you can actually see it there. It's 4 hours 25 minutes, and that was, I think we stopped for tea or dinner, whatever you want to call it, supper, a meal of some kind. We stopped partway through it and then finish it off later. In fact, we stopped for a while, I think. Yeah, so this is probably, I mean, you could technically do it probably in 3 hours, but I'd say a 4 or 5 hour plat realistically, at the absolute most. The thing that takes the longest is I forget the word I'm thinking of, but no, it's not going to come to me. But there's a bunch of different games, 5 or 6 different games, and there's a few trophies in each one, and you're playing it multiplayer, so you do need a second person. One of you's got the headset, one of you's just sat looking at the TV screen, which just displays a different image. And one of the games is you against your partner, the others are you working together. And they're super easy. The games are really short. They're maybe 5-10 minutes long at the most. And the trophies you can do by just they're dead easy. The trophies for each game mode are just super easy. I don't even need to talk you through them. But then there is a trophy for a separate kind of mode or separate sort of game, but it's basically a vending machine. Pardon me, I'm getting all tongue-tied. Mini bots, was it? Yes, mini bots. You go into this mini bot section and you need to unlock all the prizes, get all the prizes in mini bots. Basically, it's like a small circular room. You've got a vending machine in front of you, or like, not a vending machine, it's like one of those claw grabber things, like out of Toy Story. And you need to put in the money that you've earned by playing the other modes. Now, I found that doing the trophies for the other modes earned me enough money to buy all of the parts. So you don't, like, I was worried at first because it doesn't tell you how many you've got and how many you need to get. So I was thinking, oh crumbs, I'm going to need to like farm loads of coins and just play the other game modes over and over again to get enough. But it did turn out that I did have enough to get the trophy. It's around, I forget exactly, somewhere around about 60, I think. Somewhere between like 50 and 70, but it might be 50, it's around 50, 60 roughly. So you need to put all the money in, you kind of flick it in with your touchpad. And then it just takes time kind of going through the motions of sending the claw across and then coming down and grabbing stuff. And then it pops it through the hole. You kind of pick it up and you can look at it and scan it and stuff, but you're able to like skip forward pretty quickly. But the room around you gets filled up with all these little dioramas and little figures and things like that from the game. And there's little Easter eggs for other games and stuff. It's quite cool, like being able to look around and see all these action figures, all these playroom kind of little robots, but they're all like alive, as it were. They're all moving. They're all kind of in houses. Might be playing like air hockey or swimming in a pool or whatever. But that is pretty much the thing that takes the longest out of the whole game, and it's literally like a 1 out of 10 difficulty, guys. If you've got VR, it's ideal because it's free. It's a free download. I think it automatically gets added to your PS4 if you install the update that automatically gets installed when you first plug in your VR. So you'll have Playroom VR. 1 out of 10 difficulty, about 4 hours completion time, super easy. And it's actually fun. It's quite cool as a VR game. Like, there's a platforming level, and you're with your partner who's in like a floating ship. He can see it on the TVs flying around, kind of pulling levers for you and stuff like that. And you're in this platforming area, and you can see your avatar, your character in front of you. And as you run around with him, the platforming section moves forward. Obviously, the camera moves with you, and it just feels really cool being immersed in this like cartoony world. And there's cool little touches, as you would expect from a Playroom game. There's cool little ways in which it uses, for instance, the controller. So there might be like hooks that you need to hook a rope onto, and you aim your controller at the hook, and you flick out the rope from your touchpad. And then while you're still controlling your character with the buttons, you can jump your character onto the rope. But as you move the controller around, it moves the rope because it's still attached to your controller. And it just feels like quite immersive, It's just nice little touches like that they're really good at, the developers of this game. Now the other one I want to mention is Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour. This is £16 on the UK store. Is this the American store? Yeah, let's have a look. Duke Nukem. This is, pardon me, guys. This is $20, £16, $20. It's a bit expensive. I did buy a copy because I like to get hold of these easy plats quite quickly for my trophy service. But as you can see, it's a 2-hour plat. In fact, it can be done a lot quicker than that. I think I stopped partway through, and I actually had a lot of crashes. I was playing it on my PS4 Pro, and I'm a bit worried that it might have been because it was on the Pro. I think maybe the Pro's got some teething issues. But I had lots of times where the game crashed and I had to like restart some farming trophies again or whatever. So it can be done a lot quicker. It's estimated between half an hour and 2 hours. So I was still within the estimation, but you can do it in 30 minutes. Probably an hour is like a realistic time. But that's super easy, literally, because you can use cheats in it. You're invincible. You can just choose like the last level in each section, and get the trophy for completing that section. You can follow videos that literally you can activate cheats that allow you to walk through walls. So you just watch a video with the no clipping, it's called no clipping cheat. You follow where they go and you just go to the final boss. You're invincible, shoot them, you can activate any weapon you want. It's absolutely ridiculous, really. And all the farming trophies, like there's one for killing 1,000 enemies. You can save the game in a section where there's lots of enemies, kill them, and then reload your game, and it still tracks all the kills that you just got, even though you haven't saved it again. So, man, honestly, I shout out actually to his name eludes me. You know who you are. I might actually, let's have a look. It might be on this video. We're gonna stop this. Yeah, let me find the guy, because he does deserve a shout out. It's literally the first time. Oh, is it not on here? Maybe it wasn't on this video. Crumbs. Where was it then? Sorry about this, guys. I should have found it before starting the recording. Yeah, I really want to give him a shout out because, like I say, it's the first time someone's pointed out a game that I wasn't aware of. I can't for the life of me find the comment now. Anyway, you know who you are. He pointed it out on a video a few days ago, and I was a bit gutted really, because I'd already made part 3 of the fastest and easiest plats, or whatever you call it, and this would have totally made it onto the list. Playroom VR is like, that's VR. I kind of keep the VR games off those sort of generic lists because people, the majority of people don't have a VR headset. But Duke Nukem, I'm just pointing it out now because it did kind of miss out on this list. It does give me an excuse to do a part 4, and I have got some games left over that can join Duke Nukem on the list. But yeah, Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour, super easy, super fast platinum. And there you go. It's 25 past 4, which means 5 minutes to go. I have to start cooking, or got to get the oven on at least. That's perfect timing. It's been about an hour. This video ends up being around about an hour most weeks, which is pretty cool. And hopefully you guys don't get bored by the end of it. But like I was saying at the start, thanks for all the support on this series especially. Hopefully this video can continue the trend of getting more and more views each week. And eventually it might become an actual kind of an income revenue from this channel. At the moment it makes maybe like 50 pence or £1 each week, but it's all about building the channel, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it enough. Anyone who's new to the channel enjoys the video enough to want to subscribe, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and help support this series, because I find it just as helpful as you guys, really. This is something that I would be doing anyway, not as thoroughly obviously, and I wouldn't be recording it, but I always used to look through the PSN, the updated list of games each week, and just try and find some easy stuff. And I'd often miss things because I didn't do it regularly enough. But I've just realised it's gotten very dark, and so I'm going to apologise now for the fact that you probably can't see me by now. When I started this, I was forgetting that it's basically winter, and I was forgetting the time of day. It was nice and brightly lit, my room, when we started, but I haven't had any lighting on. There's no point turning it on now. I apologise for that. I'm probably practically invisible on the screen by now. Oh, pardon me. But there you go. I'm going to go, guys. So thank you very much for watching. I'm burping away here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop us a comment. Let us know whatever you want to tell us, whatever you want to talk about. And I'll catch you all very soon, sometime in the week. All right, have a good one, guys. Cheers.